All right, we're going to get started in the Media Center here with the post-race press conferences for Can-Am Duel number 1. We are joined by one of the open car drivers who has raced his way into the Daytona 500 on Sunday, Michael McDowell, the driver of the number 59 Thrivent Financial Chevrolet. Michael, why don't you just start off by telling us what it means to lock in a spot in the Daytona 500?
Well, you guys all know what it means to be in the 500, and I've been on the other side too, where I've been loading up and going home on a Thursday night. So I definitely appreciate it when we make the races, and it's very big for our team. You know, Circle Sport Line Family Racing, and we're going to have 2 cars in the Daytona 500. That's pretty cool, especially for a small team, and to to really start out the year well. It's very important. This is such a huge race, and it was nerve-wracking. It wasn't an easy one by any means. So. It pretty much is how it goes. You have a plan, you make a plan, and then it all changes when you get out there, and tonight was no different than that.
All right, we'll open it up to questions. We'll bring a wireless mic to you. Please state your name and affiliation when the mic gets to you. We'll start up here in the front.
Nick DeGroot, Motorsport.com. Michael, what were you thinking towards the end of the race when you had Colwood right behind you and he was really juking around trying to get by you? Was that an anxious moment for you?
Well, for sure. When you're at Daytona, and you guys have seen in these duels, a lot of time we'll get side by side, and the pack will stay that way. But in that first run, as soon as you get single file, if you're not on that lead pack and you're not in line, it's very easy to lose the draft. And after the pit stop, everything gets spread out a little bit until it regroups. And we just got done making a green flag stop there, and Cole and I were side by side, and I was able to get past them on pit road. Then they had a run coming, and he had a run with 2 or 3 cars. And so that was that moment where if he slingshots by me and I lose the draft, you're going to lose a lap, or you're going to be out of the draft altogether. So I fought as hard as I could to keep him behind me, and I didn't see what happened behind me, but I saw that it got crazy real fast.
Thanks.
Do we have any additional questions from Michael downstairs? Are there any questions from the press box?
Bruce Martin with Speed Sport Magazine and Autosport. Even though there's not a lot of you that are fighting for the positions, there's only one that comes out of each race. And does that just concentrate how much more anxiety that there is to get into this race?
Yeah, it's huge. Like you said, in years past, I don't know the exact number. It just depends on your speed, but there's usually 3, sometimes 4 coming out of a duel. And so you knew that you had to finish 15th or 16th, and if you did, you would get a spot in there somehow, some way. And going in tonight, we knew that if there's only one spot if Blaney races his way in, and so that's really tough. It's good that we had speed in qualifying to fall back on, but at the same time, we saw the 21 had troubles there, and at one point, I think maybe even lost a lap. And I'm thinking, oh man, this is going to come down exactly how TV wants to see it, and exactly how I didn't want to see it. So, for sure, it's a challenging format the way it is this year for the open cars at Daytona in particular.
I'll go to the back.
Maybe I missed it, but afterwards, did you go and say anything to Ryan? Did you thank him for?
Well, no, I hadn't seen him. Definitely glad that he was able to get it back on the lead lap, and obviously had a fast car there, was able to get back to the front. And so we knew what our job was tonight. Our job was to beat the 30 and the 98, and if we did that, we would have a spot in the Daytona 500. And so regardless of where the 21 ran, and that's really what our focus was on.
We're going to go upstairs to the press box for the next question.
Chris Knight, CatchFence.com. Michael, you seemed real encouraged by the speed from your car last night in practice, but how about for the 500 on Sunday?
We got some work to do. There's no doubt about it. Nothing that can't be adjusted, but it was a different race tonight. Everybody's getting so good at leading the pack and moving the lines around that it's really hard to make moves and get runs going, and you stall out real bad. So I'm looking forward to more cars being on the racetrack. I think that's going to, allow us more opportunity to move around and make runs and make passes. When you only have 10 or 13 cars in that lead pack, if you don't get it just right, you end up losing 4 or 5 spots, and you have to regroup and gather it back up. And Obviously the 500 would be a different scenario there. At the end of that race, the guys that weren't in position to win, you can kind of see them rolling out of the gas and trying to get out of it. And I'm like, go, come on, go. We got to keep going, So, the 500 would be very different, obviously.
We're also joined by the other driver who has raced his way into the Daytona 500, Ryan Blaney, the driver of the number 21 Motorcraft Quick
Thanks for
Lane
making it
Tire.
exciting for me.
Tire
I like
Center
that.
for-
I was like, where is he? Where is he going? What's he doing? I mean, what's happening here? So.
Ryan, do you just want to comment on making the field for the Daytona 500 this year?
Yeah, nice to be. Well, we were locked in before, but it's kind of nice to feel like we raced our way in. We had a really fast race car, and we had our couple problems early in the race, which got us lapped down. And luckily, we got a caution at the right point, which got us back on the lead lap to where we can go racing for it. And we just got in a couple good lines and some good guys in front of us and behind us. And Joey ducked down to the bottom when no one else would, and I figured I'd give it a shot and go with him and see what happens. And I think that was like 7 to go, 8 to go. And no one went with us at first, and I was kind of discouraged. I was like, well, we're going to finish about 15th. And then luckily some guys went with us, and we were able to make some good ground there at the end and just have a shot at it. But it was a good recovery for our race team.
We're going to go back up to the press box for one more question, and then we'll come back down here to Kenny and Jenna. You can go ahead in the press box. Okay, we'll go ahead to Kenny Bruce.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Michael, how difficult was it for you to get to this position, given everything that the team has gone through since the end of last year? I mean, you had the merger, whatever you want to call it. You made the manufacturer switch. I mean, it just seems like there's stuff going on constantly.
Yeah, there was a lot going on in the offseason. Obviously, there was a lot of unknowns with the charter and what was going to happen with that. And there was a time where we felt like we were going to be, in a tough spot, that we weren't sure if we were going to be able to compete this year at all, whether an open car or a charter car. And, luckily we were able to, put together the partnership with RCR and that alliance, and switching over to Chevy, helping strengthen our position there. And so, with Thrivent Financial and Caleb and all our partners coming on board and really partnering with Joe Falk at Circle Sport allowed us to say, okay, now we have a spot in the sport. Our partners stepped up, manufacturers stepped up, and we were able to, go full time. And so that all happened in 30 days. I mean, I know that's kind of hard to believe, but it's the reality. I mean, come around, the 1st of December, Bob said, hey, do you want me to start calling some other owners for you? I don't want you to be on the outside looking in. And we really didn't know what we were going to do, and we didn't know what we could do. And so to be here now is a big deal, and to have 2 cars running in Daytona 500. And for me, I mean, selfishly, going to Atlanta next week and not having to qualify for the race, I don't know how many starts I've done, but I've had to make every single one but 10 of them in my career, over 200 starts. To not have to do that on Friday is going to be really nice. And so I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to our program growing over the years.
All right, we'll go to Jenna and then to Tom.
Jenna Fryer, AP. Ryan, you mentioned that when you first tried to pull out, people didn't want to go with you at first. You had that problem at Talladega. What do you have to do between now and Sunday to get guys to trust you and go with you?
Well, the first time I pulled out early in the race, we had our problem, and I was kind of wanting to get away from the pack. I didn't want to have an issue and wreck cars. So that was the first time, which I didn't blame anybody for that. But the second time I did behind Joey, it's a product of, if someone can get like a blowtorch and just burn the yellow stripes off the bumper, I think that's going to help. But I hope that helps tonight, or what we did tonight kind of helps that. I think every Speedway race, you try to and hope to earn respect of other people and show you have a fast enough car and they're confident enough in you to make moves with you. And that's really all you can hope for, but you never know. You just hope things work out for the best. I mean, even if I didn't have yellow stripes, I mean, if it was, no one went with Joey at first, and he's won a 500 and tons of races, so it's just a product of how people kind of feel at that time, I guess.
All right, we'll go to Tom and then Lewis.
Hi, for Ryan, Tom Jensen, Fox Sports Speedsportmagazine.com. You were falling back and talking about a vibration. Was it just a bad set of tires, or you seem to make a pretty amazing comeback?
We had a loose left rear wheel, and it slowly worked its way loose. And luckily we resolved that. And so what happened was it was loose at the beginning of the race, and it worked itself loose. And then when we had to pit the first time, the studs are stripped. So all the air guns in the pits, they don't tighten them up if there's stripped lug nuts. They go to a certain pressure and then they stop, because that's what they're designed to do. So when we went back out and we went 6-7 laps, they were still loose. So then we had to come in again and actually torque them and make sure that it was going to stay on there, just because we had damaged studs on it. So, and then, like I said, luckily we had that caution, but it was just a product of a loose left rear wheel.
And go to Lewis.
Louis Frank of Reuters. You're going to practice in warmer weather, than you raced. So what do you take away from the running in the pack in cold weather that is of any use on Sunday?
That's tough. The handle of your race car isn't going to be as good as it was tonight. We were pretty loose tonight, but there's a lot of things we can do for Sunday. It's going to be slick and hot on Sunday, and luckily we might have a small practice on Saturday to maybe get a small idea for what Sunday's going to hold. But it's usually a handful on Sunday, especially when you have twice as many cars in the race. You're going to have a lot more energy. You're going to be 3 wide a lot more with someone on your door or anything like that. So we can take a little bit away from it, but not too much. We can't put all of our hopes into this race.
Do we have any additional questions for either driver? All right, Michael and Ryan, thanks for joining us. Congratulations and good luck on Sunday.